This book, I Have Lived a Thousand Years, was written by Olivia Bitton Jackson in 1997 based on her personal recounts of the tragedies she experienced as a 13 and 14-year-old girl who lived and became a victim of the Holocaust. This book is 228 pages long, but the many suspenseful events in this book makes it a constant page turner that makes it a little bit difficult to put down and a pretty quick and easy read. And just a little background on the Holocaust. It started in 1933 and ended on May 8th of 1945. This was where they took Jews and other undesirables and put them in concentration camps where essentially they were either immediately killed in gas chambers, other various ways, or they were worked to death. Some of them, including Olivia Bitton Jackson, were lucky enough to survive to the end, however. And to carefully address some of the thematic literary elements of this book, the tone of it is very tragic and sad throughout most of it, but it can be very uplifting through the constant prevail of through her many hardships and surviving in the end and never giving up hope. There isn't much symbolism in this book because it's very grave, talking about a serious time. But one specific example is when she had a dream of her in this storage room of her old house with her dad and this glowing bird that was flying over her head. And on that day, and when she turned back and looked at her dad, he was petrified in the stone, and she knew that day her father had died, which is just leaves you in awe. And also, the characterization of this book, she states in the beginning of her book, when she's 50 years later, many years later, she's talking about there had a 50-year reunion for some of the survivors when they reached out to her in New York, and she went back to Germany for the first time in 50 years. She says, "We, the 18 survivors who returned to Shisha, men and women in their 60s and 70s, briefly reminisced on the Liberation Day 50 years ago. And we looked into each other's eyes. We saw that the years had not faded, the pain and memories. The pain was intact, and so was the sense of overwhelming burden." This completely changed everybody who went through this. None of them were ever the same. She was only 14 and went through unbelievable, unthinkable experiences, and it made her, it completely ravaged her mentally, but it also benefited her, and she grew up largely from it. Also, to address the conflict, the whole time she is struggling to live just for survival, to keep her mom alive and to survive in the concentration camps and to survive to the end, because Nazis trying to kill her and decimate her and her entire race, among other undesirables. Today, the Holocaust is been a little over 70 years ago, and it is easy to forget the severity and the full gravity of the situation that happened so long ago. We tend to forget and just kind of look at it like it was legend or not real. That's why she wrote this book, so that we would never forget the tragedies that happened so long ago. And this is the theme. She has many themes of her book. That is the purpose of it, to never let us forget. And she teaches us various lessons. One of the really underlying oblique themes of this book is to appreciate what we have. So many Americans, especially American youth nowadays, are so caught up and self-absorbed in their own insecurities and petty problems, we forget how great we really have it. This girl was a skeleton practically by the end of the Holocaust, and went through so much, through the loss of so many people dearest to her. Her home was decimated. When she returned back, she had nothing to return to. She was just stripped of everything, including her humanity, pretty much turned into a robot. And this really teaches us to appreciate what we have, which we tend to forget a lot nowadays. Also, she teaches us to fight discrimination and prejudice, and you can see how severe it can become, and to never let that happen again. I believe that's why she wrote the book so many years later, because she saw that people were starting to forget and people have become more tolerable of human suffering and kind of just ignore it. She also, one of the major, more apparent themes in the book